Don't tell me what I can't do. You ever say that when you were a kid? See if you hear that in this episode. And why? Why do we say that when we're a kid? Or why do we say that at any time? Socrates. Hopefully by now you've already read the apology. And I'll be interested in reading your comments, what you think about it. Do you think he was wise? And if he was wise, what made him wise? Willingness to recognize that we may not have the whole truth is the wisdom that the ancient Greek Socrates most extolled. Socrates learned that he was the wisest man in Athens because he alone knew that he did not know. Realizing that you could be quite wrong about what you think you know is the first step toward becoming a philosopher. And I might add, this could be the first step towards wisdom. I want to talk to you a minute about the titles of, especially just the title of the show, Lost. What an intriguing title. If you'll notice, the characters are lost on an island. But I want to ask you, how can we be lost, or how do we look at it as being at something as being lost? A person can be lost physically. I've been lost a few times in my life, like out on a lake, out in the woods. Even I was lost at Six Flags for a little while with my mom and dad. And I remember those times I was a little frightened because I was lost physically. What's another way that a person could be lost? Well, if you're spiritual, there are those that believe you can be lost spiritually, that we can be spiritually lost. If you will notice, the survivors of Flight 815 are not only lost physically, they're also lost spiritually. I also want you to pay attention to the titles of the episodes, and I have the titles of the episodes in the tabs on the class. They have dual or multiple meanings. They also point to the characters, themes, and the philosophy of the episode, and they themselves are clues into what's going on and what the writers are trying to depict. The previous episode, we watched Pilot, and now we're going to watch Walkabout. The episode that's in between the two is called Tabula Rasa, and that is Latin for blank slate. John Locke, who is a character in Lost that you know, believed that a child's mind was a tabula rasa. In Western philosophy, traces of the idea that came to be called tabula rasa appeared as early as the writings of Aristotle. Here's something interesting. In the 12th century, an Arabian philosopher and novelist known as Abu Basir or Ibn Tufayl demonstrated the theory of tabula rasa as a thought experiment. And here's how he did it. He wrote a philosophical novel in which he depicted the development of a mind of a feral child from a tabula rasa to that of an adult in a complete isolation from a society. So his novel was about a child on a desert island. And through that experience alone, its mind developed. This novel was later published by an Edward Pocock in 1671, and it had a significant influence on John Locke. The John Locke of, not of this show, but of history. John Locke had a formulation of tabula rasa in his essay concerning human understanding. We're going to talk more about John Locke here in just a minute. As understood by Locke, tabula rasa meant that the mind of the individual was born blank, and that also emphasized the individual's freedom to the author, his or her soul. So Locke was all about individual freedom. Individual freedom. And you'll see that John Locke in this episode is a little bit about that too. Don't tell me what I can't do. The theory of tabula rasa is contradicted in William Golding's novel, Lord of the Flies. Golding wrote the book in hopes of proving that all humans are born with an innate evil, and it is the job of humans to contain that evil. Have you ever read, or I think there might be a movie version, I'm not positive, but have you ever read Lord of the Flies? Can anyone tell me what it's about? It's about, we might talk about it some in the class discussions, but it's actually about a group of boys that get stranded on a desert island, and they're like teenage boys. And it's all about their life and about the little tribes that they make and the leaders that come out of it and how they mistreat one another and different things. There are definitely some similarities in the show Lost. Okay, also I want you to notice names. Not only the names of the shows or the show and each episode, but names are important. The people's names are important in the show, but names are also important in theology and in society. And for different reasons, but a lot of people name their children after what they want them to be, like Indians, or all of my children are named after people in our family. So names are important, and in theology, you will see that names throughout the Bible and throughout literature are important. Many of the Lost characters are named after famous philosophers. Damon Lindelof, who happened to be a writer of Lost and who I got to meet in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, commented, "We just wanted to let the audience know that these philosophers are in our lexicon as storytellers." So basically, the names you see throughout Lost that represent different characters in society, or that come from different characters or people in society, they are all part of the story. One of the major characters of the show Lost is John Locke. He was one of the major philosophers of the 17th century and had a huge impact on philosophy, politics, and theology in our present time. He still has a huge impact on philosophy, politics, and theology. He is a major figure of the Enlightenment period. The Enlightenment is the period in history of the Western thought and culture, stretching roughly from the mid-decades of the 17th century through the 18th century, characterized by dramatic revolutions in science, philosophy, society, and politics. These revolutions swept away the medieval worldview and ushered in our modern Western world. That comes from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Here's some interesting facts about Locke. In 1666, Locke met Lord Ashley, whose former name was Anthony Cooper. And it just so happens, and Anthony Cooper just so happens to be the name of John Locke's father in the show Lost. And he's also the man that conned Sawyer's dad. So, in real life, though, Locke met Lord Ashley, formerly known as Anthony Cooper, and Locke saved Ashley's life from a liver infection by the surgically he removed a cyst. Locke is considered a founder of two individualistic movements: empiricism and liberalism. Empiricism is the philosophical doctrine that all knowledge is derived from experience. That's where we get the tabula rasa, that we're a blank slate, so that all our knowledge is gained. If you have empirical evidence, you have to have experienced something. You have to have proof. Liberalism. Now, liberalism isn't what we know as liberalism today. Today we have conservatives and liberals. Liberals basically believe in big government and higher taxes and things like that. Conservatives believe normally in less government, lower taxes, and so that's kind of the basics that we look at liberalism today. But liberalism in Locke's time, an original meaning of liberalism is the philosophy or movement that has it as its aim the development of individual freedom. So, in Locke's time, an individual, you didn't have individual rights per se, especially when you come out of the medieval history of kings. Everyone followed the king. In fact, a lot of times, whatever religion you were, if you were a Christian, or if you're a Catholic, or if you're a Lutheran, or whatever, you practiced the religion of your king or your monarch. You didn't have the individual choice to decide. So, in Locke's liberalistic movement, his liberalism, well, that was when we have these individual freedoms, and you can hear that throughout the Constitution of the United States, which the founders of the Constitution came on the heels of the Enlightenment movement or during it, and that's why we have so much of our history is tied up in a lot of these characters and a lot of these people. So, enjoy Walkabout. And I want to know, you want to go on a walkabout? You ever been on a walkabout? That'll be fun.